Hi everybody, welcome back to my LinkedIn Lives. I'm Jasmine Navarro, certified wellbeing expert, working with educational institutions and companies supporting their family wellbeing challenges. As you know, every week I interview different experts who make a difference. And today I'm super excited to be interviewing Fady. Hi Fady.
Hi Jasmine, how are you?
Thank you so much for coming on. I know we organized this such a long time ago. Can you tell us about yourself and what you do?
Thank you for this invitation. Yes, I'm super excited. We have discussed long ago. I have been working in the digital marketing and online communications field for the last 28 years, out of which latest 16 years is between Cairo and Rome. I lived a little bit in Italy, and since then, I think like starting 2008, I'm always between North Africa and Europe, basically working in solutions and different services related to digital marketing, online communications, and lately focusing on personal branding as well.
Wow, so you know a lot about this. I'm so excited to be asking you questions. And hi to everybody else who's joining. Please feel free to message a question or comment. That's absolutely fine. Right, Fady. So, boosting business and career using LinkedIn. Tell us what made you choose this topic for today.
Thank you so much. That's a very interesting question that I love, and I always love to share this story. I started a company between Cairo and Rome out of a LinkedIn post. When I worked in, I lived in Italy, in Rome, 2008. And then whenever I met someone in business meetings, business context, they said, we'll be connected over LinkedIn. And I had no idea whatsoever what is LinkedIn. I just went to create an account and I just started growing my network. And then I saw a post from a gentleman that I met him once in his company looking for a country manager for the new branch of the company in Egypt. So I replied, I sent him a direct message. We had a cappuccino and he said, you know what, you got the job, but besides getting the job, would you like to come as a shareholder and partner in the company? So I had the same facial expression like you. So I was, oh, wow. So I came back to Cairo as a co-founder and entrepreneur. And 1 year later, we did the same with a third partner in Salzburg. So I would say building a personal brand and LinkedIn turned me from an employee to an entrepreneur in a group of companies within 1 year or less than 1 year. So that's why I love personal branding at LinkedIn and I preach it every single day.
You do? No, thanks so much. Hi, Ellie. How are you doing? She said, happy to see Fady Ramzy here. Thank you so much for coming, Ellie. Lovely to see you too. Wow, that's really extraordinary what you've just said. So can you tell us a bit more then? So, because I know obviously everybody's on LinkedIn now, and lots of people want to be successful. Some people are employees, some people are working for themselves. So where do people start with LinkedIn? Because there's so much to know, and I'm sure you've done a lot of, with your experience, you've probably maybe made mistakes along the way as well. So can you tell us, where do people start if they're working for themselves and they need to create a LinkedIn account?
Yeah, sure. I've done lots of mistakes. It has been like 2008 till now, like 16 years. But what I would focus on, what I would highly advise right now is two main things. If you're starting on LinkedIn, number one, do not look at LinkedIn just like any other social network, because there's social media and social networks, and this is a business boosting platform, which means when you create your profile, decide who is your target audience, who is the ideal persona that you want this profile to talk to. So you are talking about yourself, but for the eyes and ears of certain persona. When you think this way, you will craft some keywords around the needs of that persona. So it's not just like digital marketing. No, digital marketing to grow your business. So I'm focusing on CEOs, coaches. This is what I wrote in my headline. I'm focusing on niche audience. I call it the 3 specifics. Focus on specific target audience with the specific problem that you have a specific solution for. When you craft this across your profile, it becomes magnetic for certain people where you can initiate conversations and start building relations and business with. This is totally different than a profile over Facebook and Instagram. So this is advice number one. Advice number two, if people can really see your profile as an expert or subject matter expert in a field where they have some challenges, they will follow you. So next comes the content, and I call it the magical effect of triple C. So it's the character through your profile and then consistent content. The more you share content consistently on LinkedIn, you get yourself better positioning as the subject matter expert at the back minds of certain audience. So whenever they have a need for such services or products, your personal brand, your name would come at the first thing at their mind. So maybe they send you a direct message or an email or something. But consistency, we always say content is king, and I would say consistency is his queen. So these are the two advices.
No, that's really good advice. And how clear do you need to be in your message? Because I think that sounds easy, but sometimes that's quite difficult, isn't it? To be really clear, like how many words should you have? Like, so talking about the banner, like you have your LinkedIn banner, like how do you know what to say there? Because I guess that's really important, having your LinkedIn banner, isn't it? And what you say there.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for the question, because people assume that that's easy. I can just go to Canva, download a banner, and that's it, nothing sophisticated, which is the execution part. But before execution, there are lots of planning. So I call this the magical triangle of first impressions, which is the cover image, your profile picture, and the headline. And we start with a paper and pencil exercise. So the more you write down who are the specific target audience, what are their problems, and what is your solution, then you can add like a tagline over the cover image. You can add more details in the headline. So the headline, three main things to remember. One is that it's talking to a specific target audience with a specific problem. Two, it's providing a specific clear solution. And three, and most importantly, placing the right keywords. We always forget that LinkedIn has a search box. Whenever we want to search for an expertise, someone or a company over LinkedIn, we start from the search box. So if you place correctly the right keywords that you would like to be found for, people will reach your profile. If not, then people will reach other people's profile.
That's interesting. And you're talking about not the words in the banner, the words on your actual
where the headline, which is below your profile picture. The banner is not accessible by the search because it's a JPEG, but it's the very first impression about yourself. I always call it's the 3 seconds of shaking a hand. So what would be, what would you like to say about yourself while shaking the hand with a total stranger? How would you just express yourself in 3 to 5 seconds? This is how I think about the message in the banner.
That's interesting. And now I'm thinking about my banner. Mine says teaching adults and teenagers core confidence.
Sounds good.
Does that sound good?
Sounds good. Yes. Yes, because it addresses specific target audience with a specific challenge, and you are offering a specific solution. So I think it works.
But talking to you now, it's making me want to improve it. But yeah, I have a think. Okay, so then the headlines. Then you've got the headline. And then, what else? Because like you said, it's a process, isn't it? And I think you edit, you post, you edit, you learn. Like, it's not like, oh, okay, I've got my profile, it's fixed. That's the end of that. No, everything's great, is it? I mean, it's an ongoing learning process.
For sure. That's a big mistake that many people, including myself, did, is that we tick the box of profile done, once and for all. Exactly. No, it's a live creature. It's a creature because we evolve, and this evolution should reflect on our profile. If I learn a new skill or I do something different, I always should reflect it on my profile. So there are 2 main areas on the profile. Most importantly is the triangle of first impressions. So cover image or banner, headline, and the profile picture. This is the first impression. If people are interested and they see your expertise, they are thinking about working with you, they scroll down and they start reading. So here comes the second 3, which is the featured section, about section, and experience. The featured is where you want to highlight other things. It can be a social proof. So for example, for myself, since in the banner, I said I'm featured on Sky News Arabia, BBC Arabi, Share. I always add my latest interviews in the featured section. So it's just like a proof. What I said in the banner, you can track it. So it makes sense, what people have seen at the top, it's confirmed. Yes. So I'm just confirming what I mentioned. I mean, scrolling through a LinkedIn profile is just like a relation. Either it's getting higher and we are building trust, or it's getting deeper and I push the back button and I look to other profiles. So this is the featured section. About section is your own story. Tell me about Jasmine. Not only the services that you can mention, because this is already there in the headline and experience, but it's a human storytelling. And lastly is the experience section, where we always add more details about, for each job, what was the description, achievements that we did, and any visual elements which will stay at the brains of the audience. So featured, but exactly. Feature section about and experience. Yeah.
And that's very useful. Thank you for telling me that. But I mean, in the about section, how personal do you need to go?
Extremely personal. Extremely.
Really?
let me ask you a question, because I think that's unplanned. The plan is you ask me questions, but let me ask you a question, and I'll tell you the reason. I'll tell you the reason in a minute. Jasmine, how would you introduce yourself without mentioning anything related to your work or your job or your career? Nothing related to business.
Oh, that's a very good question. Hi, I'm Jasmine. And I don't know, Fady. Because normally I say I work or I am or yeah.
So if we remove that part, the reason behind the question, this is one of the things that I do in my trainings and personal branding consultancy.
Great question.
The reason for this question is that we start elaborating on the character itself. Jasmine herself, her values, her background, her story, besides the work, the job, this will come later. But the core values of Jasmine, and where from this exercise, we extract some stories and some keywords, and this is the about section. It's talking about the essence of the character. How did this well-being expert become the expert? What was the journey till you became the expert?
Yeah.
And in the about section,
it's so interesting you're saying this, because like when I've been to networking events and meetups, business meetups and things, and then we all have to introduce ourselves and talk about the business. And for me, I think, it's good to know that. But, it's just sort of boring in a way, because people were just saying what their labels are. And I was thinking, and I find that quite hard, actually, to just, ironically, even though I couldn't answer your question before, but I find it quite hard to just, have a pitch like that. I find it much easier just talking about my story, why I do what I do. And so it's interesting that you're saying that stories, people do prefer stories, don't they?
Yeah, humans relate to humans. And let me tell you a secret. It's always the best start for any sales meeting, because if you introduce yourself the normal way that are people expecting,
I hate it.
That's the point.
It's boring, and it makes you feel disconnected with them, because it's like, okay, now I need to have a perfect pitch as well and say what I do, and it's just like, whereas if you break the ice and say something human, exactly. I just think the connection is so much better, isn't it?
At a higher level,
yeah. So it's really interesting you're saying that, and I guess it would make sense to do that on your profile as well.
Remember what we just did like 10 minutes ago when we discussed diving. So actually in many meetings, if I don't know the person, I start from that, trying to find some common ground. And usually there are 3 common grounds that break lots of ice. Any personal hobby, whether it's diving, music, arts, or whatever. The other thing is family. So I always start talking about my family, my daughters, and many times we find common grounds. And the third point, sometimes travel, as like we just discussed, Cairo, Dubai, etc. With this ice breaking, when you go into a sales meeting, that's lots of connection, trust. There is bonding that happened that's already there. Yep.
It's so important. But how much of each one would you use? Because, if you're at a business networking event, for example, and then you just start talking about your whole life story, people are going to be like, hang on a minute, this is a bit too much. Like, you need a balance, don't you? So that's what I find quite hard. Like, how much do you talk about your business and how much do you talk about yourself personally, if you're doing a pitch, for example?
No, it's just like an intro. It's just like 1 or 2 phrases breaking the ice, and we jump into the business. Right. And this is exactly what happens in the about section. It's like 2 or 3 paragraphs telling me, you as a well-being expert, how did you arrive here? What was the journey in a storytelling? Because again, if I'm visiting your profile, back to LinkedIn now, I got the message from the cover image, from the headline, from the feature section. So I know totally that you are the best expert here. But a little bit of personal touch creates that bond in the about section. So you differentiate yourself.
It creates a bit of trust as well, doesn't it? When you show an authentic side.
Exactly.
That's really interesting. What about then? So you talk about your hobbies, travel, all of those things. Would you talk about challenges when you first met somebody? Like, because I've been to a networking event before, like I said, and everybody was talking about, what they do and everything, when we were talking one-on-one. And I just thought, somebody said, how's business or something? And then I just started talking about what I'd just been through the last few months. And I thought, because I didn't know whether to be honest or not, or just play the game and say, oh yeah, everything's great, da da da. But I decided, no, I'm just going to be honest right now. I said, I've had some health concerns, blah, blah, blah. And I realized, the connection was just so much better. Yeah, about this, like people are responding and opening up more now. I've opened up,
Yes,
Yeah,
sure.
so.
Yeah, being honest and clear, avoiding that all is good, everything is perfect, life is pinky. People don't buy this anymore, right? Which leads us also to the content, because many times when we are creating content for personal branding, we share our challenges and some probably solutions that we have reached. So people could relate also to our challenges and how we solved this challenge. So it's part of educational content that's useful to people.
Oh, the line's not very good.
I'm back. Yeah, I'm back.
Is it me or you? Can you say that again? I'm so sorry. I couldn't hear that.
Yeah, I totally confirmed your point in a discussion where you are honest and authentic and true about your challenge. And sometimes what I saw, if I'm talking about my challenges and this is the way I solved it. So it's being relevant. I call it the RR, relevant and relatable. So people would relate. They said, yes, Jasmine, we're just in that situation. But then if you come with a solution, or at least you say, this is my own humble opinion about the solution that worked with me, people also see you at a higher level as the expert, including also in discussions, as well as, again, back to LinkedIn, these are all content ideas. So many times I post about a challenge that I know it's relevant and relatable to my target audience, and then a solution, and then automatically people would relate and comment on that post. So it gets much more engagement rather than just one-way communication, because it's relevant and relatable to my audience.
That's really interesting. I love all your acronyms that you have. You have so many acronyms. No, that's brilliant. No, thanks, Fady. So how much time should we be spending on LinkedIn every day? Because I think you could spend your whole life on LinkedIn if you're not careful. Sure. How much time do we spend on that?
That's the $1 million question. And my clear answer is your time over LinkedIn is an investment, because most probably our time is money. But the more you invest, the higher return on investment. I would say, back to the title of our discussion, if you really want to create business out of LinkedIn, which is generating leads or building connections, partnership, I mean, real business outcome, it should be at least an hour daily.
Yeah, I think that's about right. Because even, doing a post can take a while, and then and commenting, supporting other people's posts, seeing what everybody else is doing. I think, so okay, no, that's really interesting. How long, how do you plan your posts? I know you're very active on LinkedIn. So if somebody, they're working for themselves, they have to do some posts, how do they plan their posts, what to write about?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. What I learned, and I'm always preaching, is to build a system for LinkedIn, because whenever you have a clear structure, things get easier. You don't just open a screen and think, what should I post today?
Exactly, yes.
So my humble system, back to acronyms, by the way, I teach at the American University in Cairo. That's why people love acronyms, This is how I make my students learn more, and it works.
That's good, yeah.
My acronym for this is the 6 C's. So C number 1 is building the character, as we mentioned. C number 2 and 3 are consistent content. C number 4 and 5 are connections and conversations. The more you have more connections and conversations, these are ideas for posts. I mean, lots of times I get ideas for posts from a comment that someone, I just pinpoint. Let me tell you a secret. I have a Google Sheet, okay? Over Google, so that it's accessible also from my mobile, where every single idea, meeting, incident that comes across my day, I just throw an idea at the right column in that sheet.
We have columns.
Exactly, because there are 3 types of, let's say, the best content types over LinkedIn or for personal branding. Either educational content, where you teach people something, or an inspiring content, like an achievement or something that you did, or something a little bit personal. So I have those 3 columns, and across every single day, I'm just throwing ideas at that sheet.
Oh, I love it.
One time per week, I sit and I create content. So I open up my content bank and I just collect ideas and start working on. So it's content ideation 24/7. Whenever something is relevant and relatable to my target audience, I just insert. It's just like a brain dump continuously.
That's brilliant. And I think that's how it has to be, isn't it? Because you never know when you're suddenly going to get an idea from a conversation, or it's 24/7 really. But I do that. I write down, but I don't put it in columns. I like that idea of breaking it down. What was it? Educational. I'm going to write this down. Educational,
motivational / inspirational, and personal. And if you have those 3 columns, makes it easier for you. If you're planning your content, it gets easier. Because I always say content is just like being a DJ. Across your week, how many times do you want to tune in more educational content this time? How many times do you want to be personal this time? So you're just playing with the 3 volumes every single time you create the content and you plan it ahead.
No, that's brilliant, Fady. That's really useful. And I think planning is key, isn't it? Here, planning is key.
We always say, if you fail to plan, it's plan to fail.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. So what challenges? So when you first started out, what were your main challenges that you had with this? I know you said you made lots of mistakes, which I guess is a great thing, because then you've learned so much. So what challenges do you think you had and other people would have?
The map that I solved, and I'm helping lots of people to solve now, especially over LinkedIn, if you are in a position where sales is part of your job, because I used to be the CEO of the Egyptian company related to Italy. So part of my job was sales. Many people are too much pitchy and salesy over LinkedIn. So I don't know you. I send you a connection request. As soon as Jasmine accepts my connection request, I just pitch something, you know?
Yeah.
Which doesn't work. I used to do this personally years and years, and the success rate of that, it was like around 5%. I wouldn't say 0. I got some business for my company.
Good, isn't it?
It's good, but if we switch it the other way around to be more human, more authentic, with the purpose of helping people first, and then making them ask you about your services, the success rate is more than 90%. So it's a huge transition. I have been there and there. I've been in the 2 areas.
Wow.
And I can confirm.
But surely it would take much longer the other way.
Exactly. No quick wins on digital. Whenever you are on digital over the internet, anything that promises quick win, you should be skeptical about it, unfortunately.
It's so true. It's so true. And also, of course, meeting in person is just so much better. Like I've actually sent, especially when I first started out on LinkedIn, I did send those pitch emails. I sent those emails because I didn't know what I was doing, quite honestly. I sent some emails, and then I would go to events like a year later, and then I'd realize I'd meet the person and I'd be like, I sent you this out, and I felt so embarrassed. I was like, look, I'm really sorry. I was just, and they said, look, now I've met you, I could be interested. They said, I'm not interested if I haven't met the person, and they just send the pitch. So I think meeting somebody in person goes a long way as well, doesn't it? Because you see them, you see that they're real. Just sending a pitch is so
doesn't work. No, not today, because people are smart and people are extremely bored and offended from sales messages. But the other way around, which is, by the way, the 6th C. So it's the character, consistent content, connections, conversations. And if you have the right connections and you initiate the right conversations, you drive conversion, which is the 6th C. So what I learned and what I'm preaching right now is, whenever you are approaching someone over LinkedIn and you approach in a genuine, authentic way, and really your intention is to help, sometimes even you initiate a conversation over direct messages, and sometimes people ask me about something like 1, 2, 3 times, which consumes some time and effort. So it's a contribution for me. But I always call this let's say 100% conversion of 2 ways. One is, sometimes when I answer a question, this person says, you know what, Fady, your answer just exactly solves a problem that we had at work today. Can you come as a consultant for this project, because we're having this chance? So conversations always lead either to immediate conversion or what I call delayed conversion.
But how do you get the conversation if you don't send an email?
So it goes as follows. So consistent content would attract some people, right?
Right, yes.
If you see some people, whether you know them personally or you don't know them, coming regularly, liking and commenting on your content, then these are your hot leads, Jasmine. These are people who appreciate your... So what I do if I find someone regularly coming to my place and liking and commenting, which is coming to my shop and looking and then going, looking, just open the door. I just send a direct message thanking him genuinely, him or her, for engaging with my content and trying to understand authentically what was the challenge. So many times I say, okay, thank you for liking my post, which was talking about LinkedIn. I'm curious to know if you have any challenges currently with building your personal brand. I try to keep it honest, authentic as much as possible. And if I get some response or some questions, I answer them till they ask for my consultancy service. I don't pitch it. So it's the total opposite.
You never offer. That's brilliant.
They ask me. Yeah.
Oh,
I make them ask me, I make them beg me for the pitch. It's totally the opposite.
Oh no, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I think that is the best thing that I've learned today, actually. That is an amazing lesson. I think that's it, isn't it? It's reverse psychology.
It's psychology. It is psychology. And there are lots of tactics, lots of details. How can you drive from a piece of content to a closed deal? This journey has lots of lessons learned.
But why are humans like that? Why do we always want what we think we can't have, kind of thing? It's kind of the same thing as that, isn't it? Because it's like, if you're so like overly keen, it just pushes people away. Like, why is that? Why do we have to play the game?
As you said, it's pure psychology. And let me tell you the last abbreviation here, terminology. It's a bad word. It's called fucking weed. Sorry for that, but fucking weed stands for fears, wants and challenges, or needs and desires. So people are always taking a decision towards any brand, any person, anything. Either this investment will make them go away from fears and challenges or get closer to needs and desires. So this is how you can drive the conversation, is that you, as a well-being expert, if you can share some stories relevant to them where people, they really struggled with a certain fear, and you give them examples to someone like them exactly, and you extracted them from the area of fear, they will tell you, Jasmine, how can we work together? How much do you charge? Can we start working together tomorrow? Because you understand the psychology.
It's like the secret of selling is not to sell.
No, not at all. Not at all. Exactly. Can't agree more.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. That's really, that actually makes me feel better, because I don't really like, the whole selling pitch anyway. I don't like listening to it. I don't like giving it. But I always thought, well, it has to be like that, even though it doesn't feel right. So it's really interesting that you've said that.
It's totally right.
But no, thanks, Fady. Is there anything else you want to tell us about this amazing subject? And I know you've got so much knowledge, we're running out of time. So is there anything else that you think is something important that people should know?
Yeah, I would say, like, be authentic, be true, be consistent. That's a lead magnet by itself. Business, do not chase business. If you're consistent, authentic, and true, you are a magnet to the business. So it's the whole trick of flipping the coin. Instead of chasing customers, being really authentic, they will come to you. Yeah,
that's in life. Actually, that's a brilliant piece of advice for living your life, isn't it?
Exactly.
In relationships, it's the same. It's the same sort of thing.
It's the same. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like, people probably think when you're on LinkedIn you've got to be different, but actually no, you have to be the same. You have to still be you, not somebody else.
It's the whole mindset, Jasmine. It's me, but me trying to sell a product or service, or it's me trying to help people first and then sell the product.
Okay.
It's in here. It's between our ears.
Yes. No, thanks, Fady. So how can people find you?
Apparently LinkedIn, that's the easiest way. Fady Ramzy, or my humble blog. I'm sharing everything that I know about personal branding, LinkedIn, and business development on fadyramzy.com, FADYRAMZY.com. And they can subscribe also to the newsletter, where weekly I share lots of tips about those 3 topics.
Amazing. Can you put those links on the post so people can just click? Here we can't do it. Here I can't write anything on here, but on the post, that would be amazing. And no, thank you so much, Fady. It's been an absolute pleasure. And if anybody wants to contact Fady to ask him any questions about personal branding on LinkedIn, Fady is your person for this, 100%. Any comments, any questions, you can ask Fady directly or myself or on the post as well. And I will see everybody next week. And thank you so much, Fady. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. Thank you so much.